Hello there. Today I'm going to talk about something that is incredibly important when it comes to innovation. I'm going to talk about priorities. I'm going to talk about how to use when things go wrong in a good way. Now, first of all, what does that even mean? And what the hell does it have to do with innovation? Well, at its core, innovation is trying out new things. And as anyone who works with innovation will tell you, that includes a lot of failure. But you don't innovate to fail. You accept failure. You accept that you need to have a certain level of consistency to get anywhere. That you can't just say, okay, let's try something new. Oh, it didn't work. Okay, let's move on. That's part of what it is. That you need to be determined. You need to be persistent if you want to innovate. That's fair and good. That's true. I believe that. I preach that. However, you also need to know when to set priorities. You need to know when to change. You need to know when to rethink the whole thing, because that will happen as well. You'll get to a point where it's like you're simply banging your head into a wall, or things are failing, or it just doesn't work. And even if you've read all those success stories, even if you think, what would Edison have done? He would have made another light bulb. It's like, yeah, but there's a deadline in 6 minutes. And making another light bulb, even though it might work, it might be this time that's the lucky time, it still takes 15 minutes. That's just an example. I have no idea how long time it took Edison to make the light bulbs. You need to know when to quit. If not the long journey, then at least the thing you're doing right now. You need to know when to say, okay, enough is enough. Let's put it down. Let's take a walk, take a break, try something new, bring in a new person, try a new method, do something differently. But how do you do that? And most of all, how do you do that so it not only kind of saves your mental health or your budget or your whatever it is you're trying to save, but so you actually come out stronger in the other end? Now, that's the tricky part, because one thing is saying, okay, we're going to use 4 weeks trying to develop this thing. And then after 3.5 weeks, we realize, okay, it's not happening. We need to shut down the project and we need to kind of stop. Fair enough. I'm reminded of a story from Daniel Tulfat, who's a innovation guy and in a German company. And he said at one point that he'd been brought in with a client and they'd been looking to do a new product, and it had taken them 4 years where they'd been kind of developing this on and off. And he said, okay, what do your users think? And I said, users? We hadn't really gotten to that point yet. Let's find out. Let's test it. Let's take it out and look at some kind of actual end users. What would they think? So they did that. And within a week, they'd realized it was a terrible idea. It wasn't going to go anywhere. They might as well quit. And they sat there and like, oh, but we've been doing this for 4 years. And he said, yeah, because you should have done this in week 1. Not in week 4 weeks plus, or 4 years plus 1 week. But in the end, they thanked him and they shut down the project and they moved on. So sometimes with innovation, it's just as important to be able to know when to quit as it is to when to keep going. That's one part of it. The other part is that sometimes lack of resources, lack of time, lack of anything, that drives you into that desperate zone, that burning platform zone, where you're like, okay, we need to use it. We've invested too much. We've done too much. We can't just walk away. So we need to make it work somehow, some way. And how do you do that? Well, I got a first-hand test of that today. I do a keynote a day. And today I'd really kind of put myself out there. I'd taken a talk that I've been planning to give for quite a while. I'd really put some muscle into it. This is one of my slide decks that is like top notch. It's when I really perform, this is what it looks like. And I'd gotten 15 minutes into the thing, and I think it's going to end up being like half an hour or so. I'd gotten 15 minutes into the thing, and then I hear stairs. Now, hearing stairs is not good, because normally stairs are just stairs. What I really heard was the footsteps on the stairs, and the stairs creaking under the weight of my daughter Saga. Now Saga's almost 3, and when she comes into the office, work time is over. I've managed to do one keynote while she was there, but that was a keynote about persistence, so I managed to twist that pretty nicely, I feel, to make her kind of part of the story. But here, this was just not going to fly. I couldn't have my toddler kind of running around destroying the thing. So I saw that my chance. I stopped recording and I thought, okay, I got the first 15 minutes. I'll have to find time later for the next. It's going to be tense. It's going to be tough because I'm on a deadline and now I need to take care of her for a little while. But I've got to do it. Now, sadly, then I went down to chat with my girlfriend for a little bit, and we talked about, okay, how were things, and blah, blah, blah. And Saga was alone at the office. Then I come back up, and she said, I did a thing I shouldn't have. I said, okay, what did you do? I shouldn't have done it. And I look at the computer, and I realize it's not on the save screen that I thought it would be. It was done buffering. When I left down, it was buffering still. It was done buffering. I just need to save the file. And then I realized she'd crawled on the table. She'd pressed a button, and instead of saving those 15 minutes, they were gone. All gone. Deleted. And then I thought, oh, shit. Because not only did I lose 15 minutes of work, which doesn't sound like much, but 15 minutes of performing in front of a camera, doing a thing, that it takes some energy for me as well. So I thought, okay. But then I was also demoralized because it wasn't just a matter of adding 15 more minutes. It was a matter of kind of starting over and getting into the groove and getting the thing set up and like, yes, now I'm going to do it. So I thought, shit, I don't have the time to get it done now. So what am I going to do? What about today's keynote? And also, I can't. Right now I just can't. I'm going to revisit, I'm going to get back to it, but it's not going to be now. I'll just be grumpy and annoyed and be thinking about all the work lost instead of like, yeah. I thought, but what the hell do I do now? Well, I hugged my daughter. I said, it's okay. You made a mistake, but it's fine. You didn't try to. It's okay. Come here, get a hug. And she got a hug and everything was good. Then I thought, okay, this is actually an interesting thing. This is something that I ought to share. Not so much the story. Yes, of course, I enjoy sharing the story. I love talking about my daughter, especially in a work context, because there's so many things that translate well from having a child or being one to professional life. So, of course, I love that, yes. But perhaps most importantly, I realized, because then I started again, and then I thought, okay, I need to do it. Then my stomach started acting up. I started getting a little bit of sweat. I thought, oh shit, that late lunch thing I ate was probably also bad. And I need some water. And in fact, I started feeling physically bad. I thought, but I need to do this. I have a meeting at 5 and I can just, if I power through, I can make it. And then I sat down and I realized it's not important enough. It's not important enough. Yes, I have a streak. I'm now on day 24 of my keynotes. So I want to do something. But I don't have to do the thing. I can do it later. I can do it some other time. And then I thought, of course, I could do it later. I can kind of do some extra evening work, and I can work late, and I'll have to draw some on see my better half on her kind of patience. Say, yes, it failed, so I need to work late, and she'll be annoyed, but she'll understand because she's a very kind of forgiving and understanding person when it comes to my work life, even though it sucks sometimes being an entrepreneur. And then I thought, no. I need to stop myself. I need to take a break. In this case, I'm not going to pull in somebody else, but I need to take a break. I need to stop. I need to say, no, enough is enough. This can wait. This can be another time. And then I thought, okay, that's fine. I'll just post it. I'm not going to get it done today, and it's not happening. And then I realized, well, what about if I use it for something? What about if I use this lack of time, if I use this things going wrong, if I use the quitting to not quit? And this appealed immensely to me. This fits with kind of my whole overall perspective of innovating to use disadvantage to advantage, all that sort of thing. It fits nicely with the story. It gives me a chance to not prepare, because preparing another keynote takes time. And this one I was doing was very well prepared. But this, just talking into the camera about failure, about giving up, but then not giving up, and what is that? Oh, it gets tricky. That I can do without preparation. So then suddenly I could make it on time and still be in time for my meeting and do a keynote that wasn't just a 2-minute one where I said, keynotes, yeah, don't give up. Where I could kind of delve into a bit of detail and get a little bit nitty-gritty on the psychological side of it. Because even by saying, okay, I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to manage it, I'm going to stop now, then that released me to say, what can I do instead? How can I turn this into an advantage? How can I take this shitty situation? Because I was sitting there. There's sweat on my forehead. My stomach was feeling queasy. I was running out of time, and I was also demotivated because I'd failed, and I'd used up whatever little patience I had left. I'd given that to my daughter so she didn't have to deal with my annoyance, because she didn't do anything. She's a kid, right? I thought, but this opens up a possibility. It gives me the alibi to give this talk, which I think actually is meaningful and makes sense. So it's not just a placeholder, it's actually content I believe in. And it doesn't need slides, so it doesn't need preparation that way. And it's something where I don't really need to think a lot. I need to give it a rough structure, but I can just kind of start up and get going and then see where it takes me. And because of the subject, because of what it is, it actually fits the keynote journey I'm on. And it's not just a inserted piece or a half-assed piece. It's like it's a real thing. It makes sense. It's something that I would be okay with giving this from a stage, with talking about this, with calling out examples, with saying, have you tried this, or do you recognize this, or haven't you been there? Because innovating is about being persistent, yes, but it's also about knowing when to say no, when to give up, when to call it quits, when to call it a day, when to say, it's not that important. We can try again tomorrow. Sometimes you need to power through. Sometimes you need to do the all-nighter. Sometimes you need to do whatever it takes. But now I didn't. And by saying I didn't, by saying it wasn't important enough, it suddenly gave me an out. I got a fresh idea. I got a perspective that I didn't have before. Well, of course I had this perspective, but it kind of crystallized it. It gave me the idea for a talk, and it solved the problem, which was, how do I get a keynote produced in time and be on time for my meeting? So, I hope that this made some sort of sense to you. It made a lot of sense to me, but maybe it didn't to you. I hope it did. And I hope it makes you think on, when is it important enough, and what happens when we give up? What sort of possibilities does that open? Sometimes it doesn't open any. Sometimes it's like those 4-year guys, and then the consultant comes in, and in a week after they've closed it all down, and they're thinking, what did we do with those 4 years? But at least they didn't spend more than 4. Sometimes that happens. But sometimes giving up, or giving in, or taking a break, or saying enough is enough, or calling in fresh eyes and saying, I'm done with it, putting it on the table, putting it back in the drawer, sometimes that opens up fresh possibilities. Sometimes it gives you new options that you didn't know you had, and you only got them by letting go. Well, I guess I'm done. And now I'm going to go to my meeting. Thank you for listening.